My name is Monk Rowe, and we are in New York City filming for the Hamilton College Jazz Archive. I'm very pleased to have Earl May with me today. You know, you have a lot of people who say nice things about you. Did you know that?
Really? No, I didn't know
yes,
that.
well, you do. And,
that's so nice to hear that.
Yeah, Jane Jarvis.
Oh, that's my sweetheart.
And Eddie Locke and so forth.
Oh, yeah.
So they seem to like your playing as well as you as a person.
Oh, that's doubly nice to hear that.
You've been in New York all your life?
All mine. I was born and raised in New York.
Yeah.
I've been living in New Jersey now for the last 25 years or so.
Uh-huh. What led you into thinking that music could be a career? Because I know you didn't quite start out as a musician, did you?
I've always had that. I've always had a thought about playing music.
Yeah.
Always, even when I was a little kid. Because this is sort of personal, but my mother and father really didn't get along too well. So they you know, I was probably stayed. It's not probably. I did. I stayed with every relative, aunt and uncle and cousin and like that is in this neighborhood. So I was staying with my aunt and my cousin who was going to school at that time. We're talking about when I was 4 years old. I would be in the house by myself, going crazy, driving her nuts. She would send me down. She would send me down in the basement. There's an old Victrola wind-up, and just go down there and play any records you want. So I fell in love with this a record. I never knew who it was, but it was China Boy. China, and I wanted to play the guitar because it was a predominant instrument on that record, And when my mother came out to visit, and she told me that my cousin, who was 2 years older than I was, is going to study the piano, and she wanted to know what instrument I wanted to play. I said, well, I didn't know what it was called, but I know it had strings. I'm thinking about the guitar. She gives me the violin.
Oh,
so I wound up playing, studying the violin until I was about 9 years old, and I hated it. But I've always had dreams from that record, going in the basement. I've always had dreams of being on the stage and playing in a jazz band. I've always wanted to do that since I was a little kid.
Who do you suppose that was? Like Eddie Condon or?
Oh, I had no idea who that was. I had not
a lot of people did that tune, I know.
Yeah. So I don't know. It's hard to say. Even if I heard it now, I don't know if I would.
Yeah.
But my mother says that when she was carrying me, she would go to the Apollo every once a week. So she thinks that's where it all started.
Yeah.
So I don't know whether that's true or not, but it could be.
It makes for a good story.
Yeah.
You were absorbing it. So, but you found the bass eventually.
But that was by accident also. Because I said, well, I always felt that I could see myself up there, like a Buddy Rich or Gene Krupa or some great drummer, with the spotlight on him, and all the girls looking at you, and that'd be great. So I would take my little allowance, and go down to 42nd Street and Wurlitzer and take drum lessons on Saturdays, And when I got to high school, I was going to study the drums. But when I got there, Sonny Payne was in that school at that time, and he was like the big thing, and that's went to Ben Franklin, where a lot of guys went to, like there was a bunch of us that went there, and Sonny Rollins, Jackie McLean, a whole bunch of us. Wow. And when I got there, the drum class was so crowded, he had students in the hallway. So he says, why don't you go in the bass class? He grabbed me by my ear. So Walter Bishop was in that class for some reason. It was just the two of us, and he told me, that's when I first met him too. And he said to me, after 10 minutes or so of us just being in the class waiting for the teacher to come, he said to me, well, I don't know. He said, you got it, kid. I'm not going to study. I'm not going to be in this class. I was the only one in the bass class, And when I got to being naturally left-handed, when we had ensemble, playing with the orchestra, I would play right-handed, and when he wasn't looking, I would play left-handed. I would stop the band, get on the other side. I'd go back this way, So it took me a while before I decided, well, I don't know what side to stand on. I'm more comfortable playing left-handed. But I had never heard of a left-handed bass player. And but I decided to just make myself comfortable because I had no idea that I would have any kind of career like I had. You know, I played with Charlie Parker and Billy Taylor and Miles Davis's band, and you know, I've had all kinds of great, wonderful experiences. You know, Dizzy Gillespie and you know all this stuff. So had I thought, I would probably would have made
yourself play over there.
You know, because I sort of defeated myself in a little way, you know, because a lot of things that right-handed players can do, I can't do. Some things, you know, some technical things, you know. Yeah. And then it would look kind of strange for me to be in the classical orchestra, you know, and everybody else is going this way, I'm going this, you know, so
right.
It kind of didn't make much sense, but...
Did you think about restringing the bass?
I did. I tried that for a while, you know, but then I said... I was playing with Billy Taylor's trio at the time, and I remember on Saturday in New York, it was like New Year's Eve. Every night the streets were crowded, you know, cars were bumper to bumper, you know, and you couldn't get anywhere. And I remember us having to go in between sets. We'd have to go into a studio, say for instance, do a quick television thing and go back to the club, you know. And I said,
in between sets.
In between sets, yeah, you know, so, you know, and in those days, it was very difficult to get around. So I said, I'm not going to have to wait for another cab or something like that. I want to just get in the cab with the trio, you know, and go over to and play whatever bass is there. But if I have to have a special bass, I'm really defeating my whole thing, you know.
Yeah.
So I said, I'll play a right-handed bass, left-handed. So that's what I decided.
That's interesting that such a... becomes a practical decision, you know, to make this gig and do what I have to do. Yeah. I can't afford to change the strings.
Right, and you don't have time to, you know, go in there and rearrange everything, you know. Oh, it would be terrible.
This was about what you played with Billy Taylor in most of the 50s.
In the early
right?
50s, yeah. I started with him in around 1951, I think. You know.
So there was a pretty healthy recording and live music scene at that time.
Oh, wonderful. That was you know, when people ask me now to go back in your life and pick out a time that you really, you know, the time that you most enjoyed, and I would have to say the time I spent with Billy, because not only was it a good trio and playing good music and all like that, it was a real brotherly kind of thing that we had, you know, Billy and I had, and also I was playing. When Billy wasn't working, I was playing up at Minton's with all kinds of wonderful people, Carmen McRae and Tony Scott, and playing with all these wonderful people. And I recorded with Train during that time, and I played in Miles Davis's band, and I played with Charlie Parker's band, and you know, so it was a wonderful time for me, you know.
In retrospect, when you think about playing with Coltrane and Miles and Charlie Parker, is there things that stick out in your mind that maybe at the time didn't make an impression on you, but in later years? That's an awful big question.
It is.
But
if I can break it down, I hope I answer your question. You know, when you're going through these things, let's say what I get from your question is, when you're going through these things, it's not like another gig, because I was scared to death. I was really scared. But when I look back now, or even, you know, I can really see the magnitude, or if there is such a word, of what I had done. You know, being in, you know, in a band, in those bands, you know, and playing with those great people. You know, I mean, if I could have done that now, I just wish I could, you know, what I know now, even though I felt, you know, and Charles McPherson and I talk about this quite a bit, and it seems that the older you get, you don't really have, you lose some things and you gain some things, you know, so you have the knowledge, but for some reason or other, I'm having more trouble now with the beat. You know, I mean, you know, when I was younger, I could hear some of the recordings I made, and it was very, very natural for me to stand up there and just never, I mean, my time was just like a metronome. It was just, you know, I mean, that's one of the nice things I could say about myself. I had a really good time, you know. I was probably noted for that. And but now it seems to me I'm having so much trouble just trying to to keep that thing, keep it as steady as, and I don't know, I can't figure out what it is.
Is it a physical?
I don't know.
Playing the bass is
I don't
pretty
know.
physical.
I know it is. It
Yeah.
is. But I really can't figure out what it is. Charles McPherson and I talk about it, like I said before. But he thinks that when I'm not mentioning any names, but when you start listening to people that are around my age, that we've listened to records that they've made in 30 years ago, 40 years ago, and the way they play now, and you play with them live, it's a different, everybody seems to not be in the pocket like as easily as as it used to be.
Yeah.
It's a very natural thing for us.
From a business and economic standpoint, was it a decent living for you in those years in the 50s?
Yeah. I'll tell you why, because not being trained at all, not playing the bass left-handed like that. I couldn't I couldn't study formally or anything like that. So I just wound up saying to myself, I'm going to have a day job during the week, I don't know, 5 days a week or whatever, and I'll work on the weekends, just playing weddings and bar mitzvahs and things like that, And then actually Billy Taylor's one that made the decision for me, because I'm thinking that, I'm just married and I got a young baby and all like that, and I want to be a good provider, And Billy asked me to open Birdland with him and make all these gigs, and be a steady member of his trio. And I'm saying, well, I don't know, I don't want to have to scuffle. And finally I just took a chance. My wife gave me an opportunity. She said, well, you just follow your mind, I'm very happy I did that, because on the weekends I would make 3 times the money I would make on my day job, I was working for an insurance company at that time, and playing with, like I said, playing with all these other people, So I did, financially was really great.
Yeah.
But my wife at that time told me that I'm too giving. I'm always giving my money away and buying people drinks and.
Really?
Oh man, big sporty order here, boy. Really, I got a live one. You heard that again?
Are you still
That's
that
me.
way?
I'm still that way. I just made a record date with Jane and Benny and Grady, and at the end of the date, she treated us financially very well, So I put the check in my pocket and I told Benny, I said, God, I got some money, I can start tipping again. And he fell on the floor, because he knows that I do it a lot, I feel that, that's what it's for, to share a little bit, People are not, they're working and giving you a service, you treat them nice.
Right.
So I went right down to the garage, took my car, I gave the guy a $6 tip.
Right. Well, now I know why everybody says nice things about you.
I don't know what it is.
You played on Lush Life with Coltrane.
Scared to death.
This was fairly early in his career, right?
Yeah, it was 1957, I think it was. Yeah.
Did you have a sense that he was going to be, a major innovator?
Oh yeah, sure. I'll tell you why, because if I'd go and hear Miles, I remember the first time I heard Train, I went to, Miles was advertised someplace on the east side. There was some in the 70s or something like it. It was a jazz club over there, and I went over to see him, sat down at the table, and listened to him play. And he came off the bandstand while everybody was playing, and he crouched, beside me at the table. And we were talking, and he was saying, he said, wait till you hear this tenor player. He says to me, he said, this guy plays more notes than anybody I ever heard in my life. He says, it's a good thing I don't have to pay him by note for the amount of notes he plays. And so I really listened. I was very impressed with. I think Bill Evans was in that band. And
right. Wow.
Paul
50. They'd made some great records too.
Yeah, they sure did. They sure did. So when Train asked me to play on a record date with him, make a record date with him,
Now, at those, would you get together and rehearse for something like that?
That was right in the studio.
You just come and he puts
He asked me if you know this tune, you know this tune. And he said, well, we're gonna do like this. I want you to play this kind of an intro. Boo doo doo boo 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 beep beep boo. I love you. He would just tell me what he wanted, and I've been trying my best to. But I was so scared, I was so scared. That date, the takes that came out not very favorable in my direction because Arthur Taylor was way like almost in the other room. You know, we did it at Rudy Van Gelder's in his living room at that time. You know, and he had us. He really separated us. So I didn't really lock up with the drummer like I really wanted to. You know.
Gee, that's...
And Red Garland called halfway through the date and said that his car broke down, so he wouldn't make the date. So we wound up doing the whole thing as a trio, which was another frightening thing for me.
Wow.
But I've heard some other takes from that same session where I played much better than the one that that came out. So, as a matter of fact, I have a copy at home.
Oh, that's nice.
You know, but I shudder when people tell me we talk about that date because it wasn't a very completely happy experience for me. You know, because of what I failed to do. As far as the beat was concerned.
Yeah.
We can go back to that again.
Well, you suppose you're your own worst critic?
Oh, I know that. I know that. I know I am.
I see that you spent a little bit of time early on with Charles Mingus.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, he was nice enough to teach me, give me some formal training. I love him for that. I still, I try to give all that knowledge away, to young people. I beg him. I said, listen, you come to my house, I'll show you exactly what he told me and how to do it and all like that. Percy Heath was a student of his also, and he was nice enough to teach about a handful of us,
Wow.
A handful. Yeah.
Yeah. He must have had
technique.
He must have had like different ends of his personality.
I got along with him extremely well. He would come to my house, have dinner, he and his wife, and after dinner he and I would go in the bedroom and play duets, and he was really
That's
wonderful
great.
to me, really nice. He scared the life out of me once though. I mean, he really shook me up, because he gave me, he would say like, now when you have a thing like where you're going to play F7th to a B flat, whatever called, this is how you would do it, and I didn't quite understand. So I said, well, how would you, when would you, I wanted him to demonstrate, like say if you were playing in a tune, and that's what I thought he was going to say, But he said, what do you mean? You think I'm giving you stuff you're not going to use? And he really threw me for a little, but that's the only time that I've ever had any kind of run-in with him. That he really shook me up, scared me to death then. But I think I'd have to say, because he always showed me that I was kind of a favorite of his. He was very proud of me. He would tell people, yeah, that's my student.
Did a lot of your work come from recommendations like that from
Mingus?
From other players, from Mingus or other players?
Try to think about that. I think what happens, which happens today, is that people kind of know what you're capable of, and they'll call you if they think that you can fit the bill. I think that's basically what happens,
Yeah. Let's see, Herbie Mann and Dizzy and Joe Newman. It's like you've played with just about everybody, right?
Yeah, I had a wonderful time. I had a lot of wonderful gigs with. And some of my favorite gigs were with Joe Newman, say, for instance. Very exciting, with Ted Dunbar playing guitar, Frank Forster. I'm still playing with Frank. Frank's one of my all-time favorites. Great writer, great player, great person to be with, be on the road with. And just a real homey kind of, very warm, wonderful person.
How much road work was involved in
my career?
In your career?
Well, you'd have to ask. I've been married 4 times, and you have to ask my other 3 wives.
Okay, well.
I think what happens is that they think it's kind of a nice life, and they want to be with me, but I'm not there.
Right.
On the weekends I'm not home. On holidays I'm not home, so it gets kind of really, I come in the night, Earl, is that you? Like,
yeah.
It's kind of frightening, So, but we're all good friends, all my ex-wives call the house every day,
Yeah.
As this week alone, I've spoken to everybody, all my ex-wives. You know, they all
Yeah.
call my house. My wife's all good friends with everybody.
Right.
You know. They say, "Is he still doing something?" Yeah. You know.
Did they ever try going with you on, you know?
Not the others like as much as my present wife.
Uh-huh.
My wife, she just, yeah, come on, let's go. Let's,
Yeah.
Jumped right on it.
Right.
She rearranges her work schedule so that she can be with me. You know, we went to Paris the latter part of last year.
Mm-hmm.
Had a wonderful time. You know, it's just like being on a honeymoon with, you know, because I really miss that. I mean, it's wonderful to share some of the things that I've gone through with someone that you really love. You know,
Right.
it's wonderful. It's just get tickled every time I think about that.
Cool.
You know.
The reception you get overseas, I've heard it's pretty good for jazz musicians when they go overseas.
It is,
Is that right?
I love it because they seem to know more about my career, what I've done,
Mm-hmm.
things that I've forgotten about. You know, even in Japan, it's like that. You know, I'm sorry to say it's not like that here.
Yeah.
But it seems as though maybe it's just this period we're going through with all this, you know, with the film going on
Right.
on Channel 13 and
Mhm.
that whole series and JK.
Right.
You know,
Right. Whatever this
all the
thing
whatever
is
it is
going on
you know,
here.
Yeah, and you being
The thousands of
meeting
people.
you and all, you know, so it's.
How do you feel about the? I'm not sure how to ask this question, but does the interest and the educational component that's going on, does it filter down for the musicians as
Yes.
in work?
Yeah. Yes. I think so.
I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah. It might not last too long.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's just like when the festivals come in town. You know, it seems like everybody's working. You know,
Yeah.
all the little joints in town. You know, they were a part of it. You know, and then it kind of dies down for a while. You know, actually, you know, I think jazz musicians work according to the economy. I mean, it's just that wide a thing. You know, we're the first ones to be put out of work when the things start getting a little tight. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
People stop going out as much.
Yeah. Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
You know,
It seems like it's an expensive proposition to go out and hear jazz sometimes.
It is. It's
you know.
very expensive. You don't. You don't put $100 in your pocket and you might not have enough.
Right.
You know, to take your wife out just to go to the club, not to have dinner and you know, well, that's, you know. So it's pretty expensive, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember Pearl Barely told. I used to fill in for Milt Hinton when Milt couldn't make a gig or something like that. I would go to Jordan, say, for instance, with Pearl. She's so wonderful to be with, you know. And she would say that it's a shame that jazz musicians are kind of pricing themselves out of the business, where you would take Sonny Rollins as a member of Miles Davis's band, and then he would break away and start his own band. And she was saying that if musicians really sat down and thought about what they were doing, you know, and kind of stuck together, and but there are other things involved, rather than just the money part of it. You know, you really want to say what you want to say, and you probably can't say everything you want to say in Miles's band. So you have to start your own band or something.
Yeah.
You know, so that in a way she was right, in a way she didn't quite make too much sense.
Do you think that's the scene happening today? You think musicians are pricing themselves out?
Oh yeah. Oh, today? Well,
sometimes I wonder, for instance, when you go to the Iridium, for instance, and you end up spending $60, is the musician profiting from that? If so, great.
well,
I'm just,
you know, you're trying to help to keep the club open. You know, the price of real estate in New York is so horrendous. You know, I mean, it's just amazing that, you know, some of these clubs play like $25,000, $30,000 a month rent, or maybe more. You know, plus they have light bills on top of that.
Yeah.
And other things that go along with it, all kinds of, you know. So, you know, everybody's trying to just stay a little above the water, you know. So, I think everybody's like I am. You know, you just want to play. Man. You just want to play. I mean, I think that's you know, it's the only thing I've ever wanted to do in my life. Is play jazz. I mean, I still feel that way. I mean, the thing that makes me happy is if I have a gig with anybody, even with this band that we have. The thing to me that's most important, being a leader, is for me to lay down some nice bass lines that everybody can play on, and if the band is happy and and it flows into the audience, and the audience goes home happy, but you don't bastardize yourself. You don't give up your principles and stuff for that. You know, you don't do cockamamie things like, you know, whatever.
Yeah. But
just be true to yourself, and you know. So that's really what I'm about. You know, trying to be a bass player. Put a good foundation there. You know.
I've heard similar thoughts
Yeah?
expressed from Milt Hinton, actually.
Oh,
what a marvelous man he was.
Well, he really was. He was really, you know, when I was with Billy in the 50s, he was playing with Louis Armstrong, and Billy and I were playing opposite them, and Milt got hung up at a record date. And as a kid, I started, you know, I was playing, maybe I was about 14 years old. I shouldn't have been, but I was playing in a trio in a nightclub in the Bronx. And Louis came in and spoke to me, and, you know, told me, I thought I was sounding, you keep it up, you know, kid, you know, you're doing fine and all like that. And he knew I was a bass player with Billy's trio years later. And that particular night when Milt wasn't there, they were out without a bass player, he sent word for me to ask me if I would fill in for him. And I was scared to death. And I don't know whether he got a sense of that, or whether what it was he, after a while he said, tell him never mind, we'll just play without the bass, you know. And it broke my heart.
Oh.
But Milt could play that kind of music. He played in Cab Calloway's band. He could play straight ahead stuff. And then Dick Katz brought a tape that he made with up in Minton's on that same gig with that I was playing with Tony Scott, and it was Dick Katz and O.C. Johnson, who was a wonderful drummer. And so when I couldn't make the gig, Milt made the gig, and they made a tape of this thing, and Milt was playing such modern and such things that was so hip and everything, that it's just amazing how he could just, you know, go from and play any kind of music, man, and just be so solid and positive about everything he did. You know? Just amazing, man. I'm very proud of that. Dick Katz let me hear that. You know, really astounding.
I noticed you started playing some electric bass.
I was kind of forced into
that.
Yeah. I'm not a
something
good
that you wanted to do.
If I could do it well, you know, if I could please myself. You know, the word on the grapevine was that Bob Cranshaw and I had about the same kind of sound. You know, I thought he had a really wonderful sound. He's good, excellent player, bass or string bass, or, you know. But that's the only other compliment I ever got out of that. You know, I don't have the technique for that. You know, it seems like I don't satisfy myself. Let's say that.
Yeah.
I'm not I'd rather hear somebody else play that instrument.
Plus you'd be
I'm
playing in left hand.
Play it upside down.
You and Paul McCartney.
I think he reverses his strings.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, which makes a lot. That I would have probably done.
Oh.
Because it's easy to carry, you know.
I see. Yeah, that's true. It's that practical thing again.
Right, exactly.
Well, how did you did some things with Gloria Lynn, was it?
Yeah. That was a lot of fun, too. That was really a lot of fun, because I had a lot to do with the music. You know, when I say that, I mean, I don't write or anything. I don't have that kind of technique or anything. But I come up with some ideas every once in a while. You know, I would say, hey, man, let's start this tune where we have the drummers. The introduction would be a rim shot. Pop, I see your face before me. Little dumb things like that. I wouldn't say dumb, but I mean, they were, you know, but we had a lot of fun, though. It was wonderful.
What period was this?
This was late 50s, right after Billy Taylor. I stayed with
Okay.
Bill from 51 to about late 59, and then I started with Gloria right after that, late 59 into the 60s, up to about 60, 4 maybe.
Yeah.
Sorry it didn't last longer than that, but it wasn't my fault. But we had Herman Foster and Gracel Oliphant, and the compliments we got was that, you know, it was actually it was like if you didn't see one, if you saw one, you would see the other three of us. You know, it was 4 of us, a trio and her, and we were very close, very, very. You know, you would, like I say, you wouldn't see one without the other, of the 4. And then, you know, people come in when you're starting to reach a little success. People come in from the woodwork and they say, "Ah, man, you don't need this person. You know, he's not doing anything. You know, he's pimping off you or something like that. And the piano player's blind. He can't see. And you don't need the drummer. He can't read music. You don't need any of them. Come on, go with me. I'm going to put you in rooms that got dollar bills painted all over the walls." And she went for it. You know.
Oh yeah. Yeah. She became quite
happen.
the pop.
It can happen. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that broke that up, which was kind of sad, because we all had dreams of staying together as long as the modern jazz quartet, you know, Gladys Knight and the Pip, you know, staying together for 35, 40 years or something like that. You know.
Right. How has the changes in pop and rock music affected what you've done over the years, or has it?
I don't think it's really affected me very much, though. You know, it doesn't. You know, but I mean, I'll have to say that I have a lot of respect for young people. There are some that come out of school, you know, and they are really have a lot to say, and then there are others that come out of school, the majority, where it's just sad to say, but they all seem to sound alike. You know, I can't distinguish. The piano players all sound the same, the bass players all sound the same, and you know, and it's sad in that way, you know. But there are some that come out that I'm trying to start help them by, having, one other professional, I mean, when I say professional, one other seasoned player, and in the group, in a group where we have we'd feature a saxophone player or a singer, and when the rest of them will be young people, you know, when we're doing things in jazz clubs and things like that. So we're gonna start that kind of thing, you know, because it. Just to boost people. If I knew that you had a son that's 12 years old or something like that, was trying to play harmonica, I would ask him, please bring him in and, you know, come and sit in with us and so on. You know, just trying to encourage young people to play, you know, be a part of jazz.
Jane Jarvis says that you have this amazing ability to pick the right notes as the chords progress, and would depend on whether or not this is a passing chord, or, you know, she just is amazed at your ability.
I thank her for that. I think what that comes from is playing with Billy and Bud Powell, and playing with a lot of other people that I've played with, and it comes from, especially with Billy, because Billy would play things just to really see if he could fool me, see if I couldn't find the bass note. 9 times out of 10, I would find it. I would find the right note in the chord, you know. And he says that's something that you either have it or you don't. Well, I don't know how true that is, but she, when I play with her, especially if we're in a concert setting and we're gonna she and I are just gonna play, you know, I love that, because I ask her not to think about me being there. I just want her to be as free as possible and play, and I'll find her, you know. I love that. I really love being able to try to put the right thing on, with whatever somebody's doing,
Wow.
I really enjoy that. I'm a big, a lot of fun. And some 9 times out of 10 it works, so I feel good about that part of my playing.
Yeah. Well, you've come a long way since the violin.
Thank you.
You did some work with a Sophisticated Lady.
Oh yeah,
show?
it was another wonderful experience
Yeah.
of mine. Yeah, just being on Broadway with that band and playing all that good music.
Yeah.
All those wonderful people on stage. It was wonderful. And then going on the road with them was also nice. I had a wonderful time with that. We could bonded, and you'd get on the bus and slap and giggle, and
Yeah.
It's wonderful. I really had a good time. Got in a lot of income tax trouble over that. I'm still suffering from it, but other than that, it was a wonderful experience. Duke was absolutely incredible, really amazing. I know there was a story going around where I don't remember who the players were, but this guy just joined the band, and he was saying stopped the band at one time. I don't know if it was a rehearsal, we were rehearsing for a show or what, and he says, Duke, you got this saxophone player playing F, and you got me playing F sharp, And Duke says, just play it for me, don't, just please.
There's a reason you're doing that.
Oh, yeah.
That's a good one.
Exactly.
How's the Musicians Union been for you over the years? Has it been?
It's been kind of dormant, really.
Yeah.
But it's kind of,
Yeah.
we have people in there like Bob Cranshaw and Jimmy Owens, and people that are really, and at one time Benny Powell was in there, really pushing to really help bring jazz musicians up to
Yeah.
par.
Right.
So it looks, because I did a lot of things. I was in a Playboy Club, for instance, once for a while, playing with Kai Winding. Then I had my own quartet there for a while, and because I just want to stay around town. It's a good place. It's like I have a nice steady jazz gig, and you can go in and out and stuff. And they seem to have put in all the benefits and stuff, but now they didn't. So I feel kind of cheated for all that time I put in there. So Bob's is trying to work on that for me too.
I see.
Because it's pension time now.
Yes. It's just. Yeah, it's unfortunate that so many musicians don't end up with
it is
what
really
they should.
sad.
Does the music tend to keep you young, do you think?
Oh, without a doubt. Without a doubt. Because it's always in the front of my mind is that, I'm going to get it right. I'm going to really, I'm going to be as the great bass player I really want to be. The great musician, they just go in there and make everybody feel great.
Wow. So you're kind of a lifelong learner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I'd do a lot better if I would practice more than I do, but I don't, I'm easily sidetracked by, when I'm away and come home, you got all this catching up to do with other things, so I don't get to practice as much as I need.
Do you have other hobbies or interests besides music?
Just a little woodwork and, doing, like things that were, around the house and all like that. Kind of make that. I'd love to make things with wood and stuff, But you need a house and a workshop and stuff.
Right.
I don't have all that. So.
Does your faith have anything to do with your music?
Oh yeah. I feel, honestly, I feel that, I'm always very, very thankful, and I just try to send that out as much as I possibly can, because for me to have $2 in my pocket and the desire to give away 50 cents of it to somebody, for doing something for me or whatever, I feel that, well, that's what we're here for, we're all related. We're all related. You might not like me, but I'm still related to you.
Yeah.
And I think we're all here to help one another and to make life easy for each other, And if you have that kind of attitude, that to me it seems like it's easier to smile than to.
Yeah.
Somebody steps on your toe. Oh, did I hurt you? than fight with them or something like that.
Yeah, I agree. It takes more energy to be nasty.
Yeah, it does, And you can live a lot longer, and you see, if the glass is half full, it's much better, I think.
Yeah. Let me put this on here, if I can make it work.
Wonderful people in this band. David Glasser played with Basie's band for a while, alto player. Just wonderful. Larry Hamm is not as well known as everybody else, but he's incredibly sensitive piano player. Got a lot of technique. Just a wonderful person to work with, and this vocalist is absolutely the top of the line. Her father was Louis Russell, who worked with Louis Armstrong's band. I mean, he was the leader of, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
Louis
This is her
Russell.
daughter. This is Louis Russell's daughter.
Wow.
And her mother's name is Carlene Ray. She's a wonderful bassist, singer. She's got a lot of talent.
When you do a recording like this, how long in the studio?
Well, this is live.
Oh, this is a live thing.
This is a live. It took two nights of recording, 2 sets a night. They try to pick out whatever came out.
Yeah.
But I think if we were in the studio, it would have turned out a lot better for me anyway. I would have gotten a much better sound,
Right.
I think the next one will be in the studio.
Seems like bass players are kind of
we're
usually in search for that
man,
perfect
we're all
sound.
crazy, boy. I don't know whether the vibrations or... We complain more than anybody I know, except maybe reed players. They were always, they buy a box of 100 reeds, and they only get 3 or 2. Do you play?
Yes, I'm a saxophone player.
If I'd known, I wouldn't have said that.
No, but it's funny. They do that. But
It's true, though.
I'm not one of those people.
No?
No.
No, that's great.
I don't know. I don't agonize over. Phil Woods told a great story about how he was complaining about his horn, couldn't get, and Charlie Parker came into the club and played his horn and blew him away, and he said, well, I'm not going to complain about my horn anymore.
I used to go around with Oscar Pettiford every place he went. He would always, if he didn't have a lady with him, he would always say, come on, let's go hang. We'd go an after hour during the day and in the evening, and play, and I'd sit and watch him play and all like that. And worst basses in the world. You go an after hour joint and they don't have good basses there, or if you go into a club, where the guys of some obscure club, and he would wink at me, he'd go like this.
All right.
I'm going to show him, the kind of, but he's teasing me though,
Yeah.
And he'd make this guy's bass sound like it was like a Stradivarius or something like that. I remember once, I don't want to hold you, but once I went into an after-hour joint, and he told me that Art Tatum was going to be there. So I had to wait around for that. Art came in, and he sat down at this piano. They put a mug of beer on top of the piano. It was an upright, old upright, And he sat down, and he went like this, He ran his hands over the keys, and sat down and played just incredibly. And I found out later that there were 40 keys missing on the piano. So that's what Oscar does,
Oh.
So you can't,
You got to negotiate with the instrument.
Right, exactly. It's amazing how some people, they sound good. Look at Charlie Park, same thing. He would pick up your horn that you were having, just like you say, and make it sound like a
Wow.
wonderful, isn't it?
Oscar is a name that is in one of my favorite stories because I'm a big Cannonball Adderley fan, and he apparently sat in with Oscar when he first came up here and how he got his whole career started, I think.
Oscar was always helping somebody. He introduced me to Quincy Jones. Quincy was a little kid. He was about, 18 years old.
Yeah.
As thin as that.
Yeah.
He introduced me to, and all these wonderful people, he would introduce me to before they became famous. He was always trying to help somebody and, bring them along. That's what you got to do.
Wow.
That's it.
How old was he when he died? I can't quite recall.
I don't remember now. I don't remember. I don't think maybe in his 40s.
Yeah, it's too bad.
wasn't old at all. You know.
Played some jazz cello too, didn't he?
Yes, he did, because
Yeah.
he was actually in Woody Herman's band, and he drank a lot, you know. And being an American Indian, they can't really hold their liquor. So they were playing softball, and he was drunk, you know, and he ran to first base and fell down and broke his arm in a couple of places. So he had steel, you know, those nuts and bolts that they put in, you know. So it was a little painful for him to play the guitar, the bass. So he wound up playing the cello, you know.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Another practical.
I never got to. Pardon me?
Another practical reason for doing something, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So Billy and I were house trio. Billy's trio was at this place called the Downbeat, which is used to be on 54th Street. And Oscar was a regular. We got to play with everybody in that place, you know. Bill Harris came in, and he was one of the featured. J.J. Johnson, you know. We were the house trio of all. So I'd sit behind Oscar while he was playing, and then at night after the end of the gig, then he and I would go into all these after-hour joints and hang out and play and stuff, you know.
Do you have copies of all the records you played on?
No, which one? My second wife called me yesterday and told me that, you know, there's about 40 CDs or 44 CDs of yours on the internet. And I said, oh, wonderful, you know. So she just sent me copies of. So I don't have records. My youngest daughter's trying to compile everything, you know, that I've done.
Right.
So I don't know, just for family reasons.
Sure. That would jog your memory too, I bet.
It would,
You
yeah,
know,
because there's a lot of things. Right.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, I've enjoyed talking to you immensely.
Thank you. I've enjoyed
Is there anything that I should have asked you that maybe I haven't, that maybe you'd like to throw in here?
I can't think of anything offhand. Now, when I leave here and I go down, oh, daggone it.
Well, we'll do part two. We've done that in the past.
Have you really?
With some people, yeah.
Well, I'll give you a call if I think there's anything that I hope this turns out good, because I'm usually not too good at this kind of thing.
Yeah. Well, I think it was fine.
Okay.
So thanks for your time. I really
Thank you
appreciate it.
very, very much. It was a great pleasure to meet you. Maybe we'll get a chance to play some.
That'd be great.
Yeah.
I would look forward to that
Good.
immensely.
If we ever come up to your school, will you play with us?
Yes,
Promise?
I will. I'll be nervous like you were with Coltrane, though, okay?
I bet you won't, because
I'll
we'll
be
make you
nervous.
feel so comfortable. I bet